My name is Jason.
And my tiny little nipples have gone to France.
We are Beer and Games.
Arcanity Inc. were kind enough to give us some beta keys for their new game Tanzia.
We've been playtesting it today, and here are the results.
That went well.
Yeah, your tiny little nipples have finally gone to France.
I'm going to go get them back.
So I'm going to start us off. The graphics are absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah, they're beautiful. It's like WoW in the early days.
Yeah, back when they actually cared about developing games for people who like to play games.
It's like walking through Elwyn Forest. It's beautiful.
But actually, it's kind of nice because it's got like a very cartoon feel about it as well.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like it adds to the element.
Okay, so I guess these are aggressive. Oh, which will be the whole point.
Yeah.
Take some fireball, you whatever you are. What are you? I just couldn't get over how nice the landscapes were, going from the initial starting area through to like the lovely forest towards the docks where the beach was.
Yeah. Flexibility to use 50% casting cooldown.
We'll have 50% casting and cooldown times for 5 minutes. Okay, that's cool and everything, but I need mana to be able to cast it. It said that there would be totems. Just seeing that water, it reminded me of Final Fantasy X, like when Tidus gets out of the starting area and he's stood on the beach, just how beautiful that was seeing it for the first time.
What they've done fantastically as well is all the different areas are instances, which means there's no loading screens or anything like that between going from one area to the next.
There are problems surrounding that, for instance, the way that they've actually like sort of sharded their instances. Moving from one area to another, all the mobs that were in the previous area sort of disappeared. Now that's a problem that WoW, obviously it's a much more mature game, but it's a problem they've solved. The mobs will follow you a short distance, but we reached a point where we were sort of abusing the mechanics.
Yeah, it's very easy to exploit. There was one point where we were trapped, well, I was trapped at the beach getting stalked by a couple of other skeletons, and the only strategy we had really was just leave the instance and come back. It's just too easy to get around, really.
That sort of follows on to one of the issues that we encountered whilst we were playing the game. The combat, whilst interesting and the spells that you use are visually quite appealing, has some balancing issues. One of them, for instance, was the mana that the main character has.
It doesn't regenerate at all unless you stood near the totems, which is fine. Obviously, that's a great way for it to regenerate, but I feel like it should probably regenerate passively as well. In the starting area, I think we got up to just after the docks, so we didn't get very far through the storyline. But even at that point, there was nothing to purchase. And obviously, I know that the town's still in development, so it could be something that they're later going to add in. But I really would like to see some kind of passive mana regeneration.
At one point, we managed to solve that issue somewhat by basically just abusing the number of mana potions that we were buying.
Just completely starting up.
We spent about the first hour just running around with no mana all the time, mailing everything. Once we realised that we could buy mana potions from the shop for
50. At least in our inventory at any one time.
And they have a cooldown, obviously, 60-second cooldown. It didn't feel like enough. Like, the spells that we were using would use up like 20 mana. That's not like any crow I've ever seen. Oh, right, I see. Oh, it's a banjo and kazooie crab. It is. Oh, you gain 12 hit points. Oh, I see. Oh, can we not have more mana? We couldn't see how much mana we had because the HUD doesn't show any sort of indication of the numbers.
Yeah, there should probably be an overlay, to be honest, on the health points and the mana.
Yeah,
and
when you
put
the cursor over them, yeah. We were using these mana potions and getting back like a 2/3 chunk of our mana. It was gone again after 2 attacks, and the mobs spawn in such numbers and aggro at such quantity that at any given time we could have, say, 10 or 15 mobs following us and the capability to only kill 1 or 2. You
got in quite a frustrating fight with one turtle, didn't you? Every single time you managed to kill one, another one spawned on top of him.
It again comes down to the combat balancing the mana.
Yeah.
Is that once you run out of mana, it doesn't passively regen, even when you're outside of combat. It did seem to sometimes randomly go up. We couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
I got into a fight with this turtle on the beach. And I ran out of mana, so I started meleeing it. And it took me about 10 or 15 hits to kill this turtle, and then just as it was about to die, another turtle came along.
And this went on for like 5 minutes before he finally just decided to run off.
Infinite turtles.
Yeah. One thing I will say though is the start of the game, the quests. Even though they're kind of fit in the fetch quests, they're still quite engaging, and you can still get into it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't realise the dodos would aggro us if you attacked one of them in the starting area. The dodos, yeah, you know, the big ostrich-looking things. We didn't realise those would aggro us until we got out of the first cinematic when I shat my pants.
As nice as all the mobs are, they tend to clump up into little groups of like 4 or 5. But then the aggro works based on what you're attacking, not based on what you originally attacked. So, for instance, to take, once again, World of Warcraft as an example, if you attack a mob and it has a couple of mobs next to it, you'll aggro those.
Yeah.
But then anything else that comes along will ignore that aggro unless you get close enough for them to aggro on you. Whereas in this game, the aggro is based on the mob that you're currently hitting. Yeah. So anything else that comes within range is going to start attacking you, and they respawn quite fast, which is nice.
Yeah, it gave us quite a problem when we were trying to kite, especially when obviously we ran out of mana.
We spent a lot of time.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time with no mana.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about the starting area, though, is that I do hope they get voice actors.
I wouldn't say it was boring. For me, the issue is that
it's brilliantly crafted. Like, even though it's based on the story, it's still pretty solid as it is.
The storytelling feels somewhat forced.
Yeah.
You're expected to read through like 3 or 4 paragraphs of dialogue every time you talk to someone, and most of it isn't really telling you much about your objectives. And even when you do stop to read it, you don't really get that much information, and you find yourself relying on the map. Now, if they could replace the dialogue that you read in text boxes with, for instance, 1 or 2 sentences spoke by good quality voice actors, I feel like it would bring it up a level, and the storytelling would feel very immersive.
Yeah, as an add-on to the storytelling, I feel like the intro was really long as well.
Yeah, I mean, we actually had differing viewpoints on this.
Yeah.
I'll admit, it was very long. It was, 4 minutes, I think, something like that?
I think a little bit longer.
Yeah, and it was nice. Visually, it was very appealing. The voice actor was good. I really like the voice actor. The music that they had playing, the soundtrack for this game is beautiful. Again, the storytelling felt forced. So you had the Skeleton King, and you had the Shane Smells granddad.
Oh yeah, we call the character Shane Smells.
It told this story about him attacking and then getting rebuffed, and then it told the same story again.
Yeah.
And then it said, for a 3rd time, the same.
But the Skeleton King had one.
Okay.
And when the Great One sensed that
Get it? King Leoric's big on killing kids.
watching, the illusion.
Thing. So actually, the 4 minutes worth of storytelling, I feel like if they got rid of this idea of building up like a grand lore.
The way that lore works best is that the player discovers it in game.
Yeah.
Like, if we take Skyrim, for example, obviously you go to your Jarl Balgruuf, is it? Whatever. And he tells you to go and see the graveyards, and if you want to find out more about it, then you can ask other NPCs questions about it, or you can read the stones. It doesn't, impose this massive amount of information on you. Because I started to lose interest like a couple of minutes in, I didn't really process the rest of it. I think I got up to the Skeleton King when I mentioned he had a cool looking fringe eye patch.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's where I zoned out. Which is a
Yeah,
shame.
you were losing attention at one point. I was quite deeply immersed in it because it's my kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
I just, and obviously it's in beta, and I appreciate that. I'm very, very receptive to that fact.
Yeah.
I just want them to refine it somewhat so that the story is not only shorter, but also a little bit more mysterious, because it felt like they were just plainly explaining everything. And actually, it's like you said, you don't want to be told something. You want to discover it for yourself.
That's the entire point of, because they're trying to make like an open world type game, and that's the entire point of an open world game. You can kind of do whatever you want, and if you want to find out more about the story, they should put that in there for people, and if they don't, then you can go and cut their hair for dodo.
The thing is, lore is very much so an ambient thing. If you look at another popular RPG game, RuneScape, for example, now you can do a quest, and you can do a really shallow quest, like back in the day, Demon Slayer, where you would be trying to find the Sword Darklight, the Sword Darklight to kill a demon. And it was a very shallow story. You went down in some sewers, you picked up some items, you went to a library. But actually, if you took the time to explore the lore behind it and you put the effort in, whilst you could just speed through the quest and have it done in 5 minutes, you could spend time in Varrock Library, reading books about the demon. You could spend time in like the area of Varrock, talking to like the NPCs and finding out more about it. And it just feels like a lot of the stuff that they were saying was very implicit, and they were saying this is some lore about the game and we want to tell you this story, but actually you kind of want to discover it for yourself, and you don't just want one person to tell you the history of the world. You want to
just be able to discover it yourself. This is what I'm saying. Like, just through various NPC interactions, or maybe finding a book or something, or little stone tablets, or just like the narrator occasionally popping up and saying what happened in this area is such and such.
One of the things that I felt actually had quite a highlight on it during the beginning section is when your grandfather went away, the villagers would talk about rumors about what happened. It'd be really nice if you could find out the story through rumor based on talking to the NPCs rather than finding out the story based on a bunch of.
I think overall they've laid a fantastic groundwork for the story.
Oh yeah, there's so much.
I just feel like maybe it could have been incorporated a little differently. I do want to expand on a point as well for the introduction, the soundtrack. It is absolutely fantastic. The soundtrack is amazing. I just feel like a lot of points in the game it went quite.
Like I'd like to just wander down. Oh, it's probably because of the instance system they've got. They've probably got it set up so that when you go through that little area there, it swaps instance.
Yeah.
Oh, music. The game's been oddly silent so far. Like after that really beautiful starting music.
Quiet?
Yeah, there was no music.
I know it's in beta, obviously, so you know there is going to be some issues that
there was an update just today actually before we started playing it, just after we downloaded the game.
Yeah, so. And obviously there's going to be some things they're prioritising, like the combat and things like that. I just feel like the music is definitely something they should not forget about.
This game is actually quite a polished product. It has a couple of issues, but we really enjoyed the gameplay. And for us, the world feeling a little bit empty because it's a bit quiet occasionally or something like that. These are actually big problems for an end product to fix. And this game is very nice, and it could eventually get greenlit on Steam soon, and that'd be really nice. And what I don't want to see is for this really nicely put together game built on top of a quite immersive story to get really bad reviews because there aren't many NPCs around, or there's no music, or
like we said, we understand that it's in beta, and obviously a lot of things are going to change. But I just feel like it does feel very empty at the moment.
It's just polishing off those final details, really. If you're running around in a landscape and you come to the edge of one of the areas, quite often if you sort of stand at the edge, like let's say this is your character and this is a rock face, and you come up to the rock face and then turn around and you're facing the other way, the camera will pan around behind you and you'll just get that thing where the camera goes through the back of a wall and you just see into the eternal abyss of blueness.
It's actually just a clipping issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the world design is fantastic. It's just some of the elements that obviously while they've been testing it themselves, they haven't quite checked out properly, which is entirely why they've been giving out beta keys.
This is the kind of feedback that an early developer really, especially an indie developer who don't have the budget for a QA team, would really appreciate.
Some of the objects in the world aren't clipping for the camera properly, and that's what I'm trying to say.
In addition to this review, I'm playing through the game. We've spoken to the developers behind this, Arcanity Inc, and they've agreed. The lead developer, Jason, has agreed to agreed to do a Skype interview with us. So we're going to take him through some of these questions, and if it comes through before the end of this video, you actually won't even need to listen to this bit.
Yeah, you can just cut
it out, and you can just skip like 10 seconds. I'll stop rambling on, and it's okay. Don't worry.
I actually kind of want you to include a little bit of footage here about the waypoint bug. Just when we had it spinning around really quite quickly.
Oh, I loved that bug. Oh, yeah. Okay, so
we found the best bug. We
Go
found the best bug. If you launch yourself into the waypoint while holding down right click, which you use to rotate the camera behind your character, you will actually just spin indefinitely, and it will just keep going at a higher speed. The longer you spin for, the faster you spin for.
Yeah.
And we I think I heard the fan turn quite loud.
So the computer that we're playing on, Windows PC, maybe 4 years old, this computer, but a decent machine, Core i5, an 860M NVIDIA GPU. It's a decent machine for gaming. It can run most things on mid to high level settings. Streaming is a different story, but it was making a lot of noise. There weren't many frame drops, which was nice, and we were getting quite high FPS. Averaging about 50.
60, between 55 and 60.
Our FPS was great. It was making a lot of noise though. Whether that's just a multi-core issue, not utilising the cores correctly, or
it could be an optimization.
It's in beta.
It's still in beta. Yeah.
For me, I found the controls to be impossible.
I mean, I think they need a little bit of tweaking, but I actually quite liked it. I think it's just because it's in beta. Obviously, they want testers in on it, but they haven't really included a tutorial yet. So it just takes that little bit of a learning curve. If you've been playing games where the mouse moves the character intuitively, and you break off into something else where you have to actively manage your character movement, I think it's a little bit different.
I'm just gonna kite. Oh, nice! My ring. You have to click so many things when you're running away.
Yeah, maybe the controls are something they could possibly tweak as well. It reminded me a lot of other MMOs that I've played in the
So
past.
the reason why I had difficulty with the controls comes back to the combat balancing issue, really, because you spend quite a lot of time kiting, so you're running around using, your WASD movement you have, because there's no way you'd be able to use, the actual arrow keys.
Yeah, the actual arrow keys, yeah. Pardon you. We're going to include that in the video?
So, so you don't use the arrow keys. You can do the options there to use those, but you're mostly going to be using the WASD because you've got numerical hotbar keys.
Hotbar keys, yeah.
You've got your one hand over here on your mouse. You've got your 3 fingers over here on your WASD keys. But if you're using your mouse to pan the screen around and click on stuff that you want to interact with, and using these 3 fingers for the WASD keys, how are you actually supposed to move whilst attacking things? Because
this is also another thing that should probably be included in the fact that there was no tutorial. We didn't discover until actually after you'd finished taking over that you can hit tab to change between targets. Yeah. So I think it's just just a very quick help screen just to say, look, these are your buttons and this is what you press. Backflip though.
Oh, the backflip is
beautiful. The backflip is awesome. Don't change the backflip. Yeah. Yeah, just keep that in. We bunny hopped everyone. It was awesome.
We spent a lot of time bunny hopping and trying to see where we could bunny hop. And actually, speaking of that, the way that the areas are instanced, it'd be really nice if they weren't using the sort of gateways to instances where you have like a narrow area. Yeah. For instance, there was a cliffside, a very small cliffside.
That you tried to jump over.
Yeah, couldn't. And I expected to receive a little bit of fall damage from it, but I wanted to test it and see is there fall damage in this game. But actually, there's an invisible wall and you can't jump over, even though you can see exactly.
Yeah, there's nothing, no obstacle or anything like that. Yeah, could decide to tweak that as the game gets further developed. It could just be for now, just because it's easier to develop that way.
A lot of really minor things that they need to change, but the core of the game is really there. Content is key, and there's a bunch of mobs. Admittedly, it'd be nice if there were more mob skins, more variations in groups of mobs. Yeah. Having every turtle look the same is a bit boring. It'd be nice if there was some colour changes or some turtles with some kind of horrible growth. Just saying.
Overall, the game is a fantastic foundation to build upon, and obviously they've got a bunch of beta testers, so they know obviously the bugs that they need to work on and the things they need to work on. We just think the major things that they should probably put on the priority list is the combat balancing, because that's really what kind of ruined it the most. I wouldn't say ruined as such, but it was a bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it was tedious, to be honest. It'd be such a minor change, to be honest, the combat balancing. Lower respawns, slightly increase the sizes of areas so that you can space the mobs out a little bit. Keep the numbers of mobs there.
Quite an interesting fact with the skeletons.
Yeah.
When I finally decided to actually fight them instead of running away.
Oh yeah, there was like 15 or something.
I didn't realise I started attacking a crab, and when I turned around there was an entire army of skeletons on my ass.
I like the crabs. The crabs
are cool.
Yeah, that's kind of nice, yeah.
So basically what we've said so far is we don't like the combat system. It sounds awesome, there should be more.
Well, we like the combat system, it just needs tweaking.
And you should definitely keep
the crabs. Keep the crabs.
Keep the crabs.
Yeah.
Make sure you always have crabs.
Jason has crabs.
I told you not to tell anyone.
Nobody will watch this video anyway.
If we get 1,000 comments on this saying Jason has crabs, I swear to God.
Hi guys, we're here with Jason from Arcanity Inc. and we've just been doing a review of their new game Tanzia. We've got a couple questions to ask them, and we have, confusingly enough, Jason from the Beer and Game Show as well. So if the names get a little bit confusing, I'm sorry about that.
The first thing we wanted to ask you is, for us the world seemed quite empty. What are your plans for adding more and deeper NPC interactions?
It probably is a bit empty. It's a little bit early. There's 3 major towns in the game, and each of them have like a skeleton crew. That's a pun if you played far long enough. It's a bit light right now on NPCs because the NPCs that kind of just wander around and give like color info, they haven't been in long. I'm planning to add quite a bit more until it feels a little fuller in the towns. Gameplay in general may feel a little bit light because I've mostly been focusing on the main quest. I don't know if you ran into any of the side quests. There's a handful of side quests, but there will probably be quite a few more little side quests that go in, and hopefully that'll fill the world out a bit.
The side quest I was hoping for is there's a little guy in a fishing hut, and he's like, "Oh, it's a great day for fishing," and I was really, really excited and ready to just sit on the dock and just do some fishing. That was going to be awesome.
Wait, isn't that the guy who gave us the like crab whistle thing?
The crab things, yeah.
That's probably a different guy. I think there's 4 fisher guys in the game right now. Fisher fellows.
Fish people.
Fish people.
Fish people, yes. No, they're not fish. Don't call them fish people. I think there's 4 in the game right now. The guy on the docks who gives the crab quest is a different guy. The guy who says "Great day for fishing." I'm not sure which one he is. There's 2 guys. I'm a little confused myself, but yeah, one of them will be part of a side quest. The other one probably won't. The other one's just a wanderer.
So speaking of NPCs, we absolutely love the voice behind the narrator, especially during like the intro. It's just such a beautiful like voice acting voice.
Yeah, he's got a very sexy voice.
Well, that wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that he has a British dialect.
Oh, maybe.
No.
Are we going to be getting full voice acting or partial voice acting for NPCs, at least for the main quest?
It's planned. There's only 2 voices planned in the game. It's a storyteller kind of a voice narrating the cutscenes, the visions that are going to go in, and there's main narrator. They're 2 distinct voices. They have to be very distinct. At one point, you hear both voices in the same cutscene. That's all that's planned. I have considered getting just some like intro VO into
like
the merchants
quotes or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Like, hey, you look like you need a nice health potion or something like that. You know,
like the guards in Stormwind. Hi, hey.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that in. It's mostly just me. I'm just one guy. I have very, very small resources for this game.
You've done a fantastic job to say it's one guy.
You can see the game's fairly ambitious for.
Yeah, I went into it completely blind. Shane set all this up, and honestly, while I was playing it, I thought there was a team behind it. To be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do, but I've employed a couple of contractors too along the way, and one of them in particular has been working on this with me for a couple of years almost. Now it'll be a couple of years this summer, and he's become more of a partner. I was actually an accounting major, and I dropped out my senior year to work on a video game with a friend, and we didn't release the game. We were a bit naive. We were both straight out of college. I was not quite out of college, was I? If I dropped out my senior year, we didn't ship the game, but we did have enough of a game. It was complete enough that I used that as my resume to get into gaming, and then I ended up working on a lot of those big titles. EverQuest. I worked on EverQuest. I worked on I worked on Demon's Forge for a little company called In Exile. It was published by Bethesda. I worked on Wasteland 2. I was the lead programmer on Wasteland 2. I worked on Torment a bit. Those are more recent games.
Those are some pretty impressive titles there.
That's a good CV.
Yeah, I've been around for a bit, yeah.
Okay. One of our major gripes was with combat. It just feels really unbalanced. But since downloading the game yesterday, I've actually had to install 4 updates through Steam, and a lot of the kind of issues that we were coming across have been fixed somewhat. One of the things that really, really kind of grated on us was the aggro radius and the fact that your mana doesn't regen when you're in combat, no matter whether you're near the totems or not, which I understand is fine. I just feel like maybe there should be some kind of way to passively regenerate that over time.
What sort of updates are we going to be looking at in future to sort of balance out that combat?
I'm not 100% sure myself. Combat is one of the things that, it's the heart of the game,
It is difficult to get right.
Yeah, but it's something you have to get right, though. I think we've done a good job on the world. Like, I think most people look at the world and they say the world is beautiful. So I feel like the world, the music, the whole setting, I think is good. Like, I really wanted to create a feel, so when you leave the game, like, I wanted you to go like, I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I want to go back to the game. I don't want to go to school. I want to be back in Tanzia.
That the graphics are absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Beautiful. I couldn't stop saying
hopefully the mood too. Each environment is designed to set a mood, and you get the mood music usually hits you when you first enter a zone. That's kind of.
So it does, and we really like the soundtrack. And one of the updates yesterday broke the sound for us when we were in combat, and we got really sad about not being able to hear the sound anymore.
And was it maybe right after a cutscene, or was it just broken forever?
Right after a cutscene.
It was directly after a cutscene.
It was the one with the birds in the starting village, and after after you come out of the cutscene, you get that dialogue box. The music just stopped forever.
I've seen that happen to several people. It's not a consistent bug though, so I'm having trouble with it because it only seems to happen sometimes randomly. It's tough. So I haven't looked at it. Usually just restarting should bring the sound back on now. But you guys did get a really, really early build, so there's a lot of issues. And like you said, 4 updates went in yesterday. It's because I had a list of bugs from watching some live streams just recently. So yesterday what I did all day is I just went down this list of bugs. Every couple hours I would say, okay, I did this bug, and this bug. Those are 3 major things I want to get in, and I would push an update. So you guys got 4 little updates yesterday.
Even though it's a very early release, the story behind it is absolutely fantastic. There's really not a lot we would change
wait till you
about
get to
coming into it, and then wait till we get to the ending.
The ending is hopefully really good.
Well, we said the design is really nice. We actually like pretty much all of the design. The spell effects are fantastic as well. What we want to ask is, will we be seeing a deeper skill tree where you can shape your character's future? Are there any plans to implement something like that?
No, it's one class. It's one skill set. It's designed to be a lot of options, a lot of combinations that you can exploit of potions, from alchemy. And spells, and then the different monsters have very different, in some cases different. Like there's ranged monsters. There's one-on-one tank monsters. There's monsters that are designed to be more like crowd monsters, and you have a lot of crowd control spells. So you're supposed to exploit these different combinations. It's not intended to be something like an RPG where you have these different paths that you can know. Do you choose to be a melee guy or it's not designed that way? No.
Yeah.
And one of our favorite things about the world in general is just no loading screens. Once you get into the game, it's just seamless. But one of the issues that we had was that if you have a group of mobs attacking you, you can run to the border of one of the little instance area zones. And if you go over the border, the mobs just disappear because you've gone into a different instance zone. So we started exploiting that. Are we going to see some sort of mechanic where instead of us having to do that, mobs will get bored of you in the same area if you travel far enough without having to abuse the instance zone bug?
No, the zone instances is not actually a bug. That's actually that was my intent, was to have different zones, and I've had 1 or 2 other people suggest that the mobs should get bored and run away, but isn't going through a zone border the same thing, kind of?
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think it's probably quite that it's sort of arbitrary because, for instance, if you go from the initial forest area towards the beach, there's no real reason that at that point that, for instance, the turtles would stop following you, or that if you're going the opposite way, the large hogs would stop following you. So I suppose it just seems a bit arbitrary at the moment.
Well, but it's very static, right? It's the same line every time. Yeah. Whereas, if they just stopped following you, at some after a while, you said they should get bored and stop following you. Wouldn't that be more arbitrary? You'd never know when they're going to stop following you.
I think one of the instances that we had of this yesterday was Shane got in a fight with a turtle, and it took him a while to kill it. And every time he killed it, he aggroed another one. But we ran off, and we stayed in the same area. And we ran off, and I think maybe a minute or 2 later, this one turtle that he'd been fighting with attacked him again out of nowhere because it turns out it had been stalking him around the entire area. It was out of view for a good 3 or 4 minutes. I think that's what the point that he's trying to get at is if it can't see you for a certain amount of time,
yes, yeah,
it's just continuously stalking you through the level. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I've heard that suggestion a couple times. It's moving up the list. I'm not sure if it's going to make it though. It's I took that. So I don't know if you guys ever played EverQuest. It was an online game before WoW. That was one of my favorite games of all time, and I liked that. I don't know, and I realized that it's it was it's probably more of a technological limitation for them. It was an online game, so they had a lot more limitations to work with, and it was it wasn't seamless because it was 1999, I think, when they released that game.
Yeah.
So the world was not seamless, and I think mobs just had to disappear, right, when you crossed a zone border because you were on a different physical server when you did that. I realized all that, but it was fun for me. I don't know. So I tried to bring that to this game by design, and I'm not sure if it's going to work out. I don't know if people are going to go yeah, dude, that was a technological limitation. They wouldn't have done that if they didn't have to.
don't get it twisted as we're putting it down. We love the fact that it's instances and that there's no load screens, that you can just go straight from one area to the next. Yeah. It's more about the mobs inside the areas. We're using the barrier between the two instances as an example, as a way that you can exploit it for combat.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like to run away, right? Like that's that's all you got.
Like,
I don't know if it's
honestly,
it's not an exploit. It's supposed to be more of a safe zone, you know.
Yeah, honestly, it's a minor thing anyway. And if you look at this game, we're doing a lot of comparisons here to like the popular games of the time. You know, games like EverQuest, World of Warcraft, a game like RuneScape is mentioned in the review. And those are like big MMORPGs that need to cater to the needs of millions of people at a single time. But I quite like the fact that this game is opinionated in certain things in the way that it works. So I don't think it's really an issue, to be honest. It's freedom of speech for the game, I suppose.
I love the fact that the point we have the least notes on has made the most conversation.
Yeah, well, I think because it hit on a bigger issue. It's that I took these, and I've heard this. I've taken some elements from some of my favorite games, which happen to be MMORPGs, and I've stuck them into this game with other elements from some of my other favorite games, which happen to be single player RPGs like Zelda series games, and people look at it kind of and go like, what doesn't make sense? It's not an MMO. I don't get it. Why does it have all these MMO things? And I'm like, who cares? It's fun. Just play,
Yeah.
It is fun. I was playing this before Shane messaged me to let me know that you were going online. So I've actually got my game paused on the well, we're recording this.
Nice.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, basically we finished the game content at the moment. Apart from a couple of side quests that we still need to do. We did some tinkering behind the scenes. We managed to no-clip ourselves off the map, rather by design, and found our way to the Great Volcano, which is a new zone, and we really enjoyed trying to get through the obstacle course that was set there. We couldn't finish it. The steps kept backflipping us off. But would you be able to tell us a little bit more about future areas coming to the game? Maybe some spoilers?
Wait a minute. Were you on the Great Volcano, or were you on...
We were on the Great Volcano.
I'm confused. It was the Great Volcano, but you weren't able to get in? Or?
No, we got to the Great Volcano.
We got
to this
to the top.
course.
There was a bunch of steps, but we.
That doesn't sound like the Great Volcano. That sounds like an island.
Oh, it was listed. The title that came up said the Great Volcano.
Oh, you were on the outside. I don't know of any steps though.
There's a rope which we thought was a bridge but wasn't, so we tight roped across it, and then there's some steps leading up to the top. But we couldn't get up those. We're not skilled enough.
Yeah, that sounds like Sunken Island. That's really strange.
It could be. Maybe we just found some sort of like some island that happened to have some random ropes on it, and we turned it.
That's what I was going to say. What was it? Was it a small island?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not the Great Volcano, my friends.
Okay, now I'm sad.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if it said the Great Volcano, that is just purely because it's been completely neglected during the. During the beta. I've just been focusing on the beta content for the past several weeks. So that is called Sunken Island, and that's a different area.
I really like Sunken Island.
I like Sunken Island too.
If you made it to the Great Volcano looks nothing like the rest of the game. It's very dungeon-like.
Oh, nice. See, that's where I was getting at with this question, because I really like the art style, but I also want to see sort of some of the Skeleton King's like domain starting to come through in the world.
Yeah, no, it gets very dark when you get towards the there's a large dungeon called there's a place called the Lagoon, which leads to a place called Temple Ruins, and in the Temple Ruins there's actually a dungeon entrance. Oh, and so the second to last zone is a long underground dungeon, and that dungeon starts out like ruins, and as you get closer to the Great Volcano, you eventually enter into the mouth of the volcano, which no longer looks like ruins.
So we found our way to the lagoon, but we couldn't get through. It wouldn't let us through. When are we going to get access to that area?
I'll just be opening zones up as as we get closer to release, as I complete them. So the environments are mostly complete. If you saw Sunken Island, then that's probably one of the least complete areas, and you can see that that's fairly complete. But
really nice.
If you're trying to run around it, you can see it was a little bit clunky, probably.
Yeah, like things like collision detection and things like that actually made it a really fun place to just bounce about.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably, yeah, it's you're probably in the minority. I probably wouldn't release it now. But it could be fun, yeah, like tinkering around. But it's got to be smoother for the final game. So that's one of the least finished areas. But so the environments are all done, but the gameplay is not there, and some of the areas need a little bit of just polish in general, like the Sunken Island. But as I complete them, I'll add them to the beta.
Fantastic.
For a one-man game, it is absolutely fantastic. I honestly thought there was a team working on it up until this conversation.
Yeah, same.
I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys like it.
Yeah, but to be honest, there's one thing. There's one major thing missing from the game that seriously concerns us, and we have significant worries about the future development of this game. And
I know where you guys are going with this. Look, I've got the alchemy tables in there. There's a possibility to do something, maybe, you know.
Actually, I was going to say that we want a full hotbar key set.
Oh, I thought you were going a different direction. I was going to say all the equipment is there, you know. We just need a brewer. I just assumed the.
Yeah, I thought it was going for beer as well.
I can. I've heard that eight hotkeys is not enough, and I think I can kind of relate as I've been playing the game. When you start out, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
You start out and you've got like 3 things, and you're like, "Oh, this is fine. I've got 5 more hotkeys than I need."
It's the potions that does it.
As you progress through the game, you start wanting like 4 or 5 potions hotkeyed, which gives you no rooms for spells.
Very greedy. Everything must be on the hotbar.
But especially when the game is based on combos, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I need these 3 things for this combo. I need these 4 things for this other combo, and I'm out of space.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably increase it to at least 10. So I'm not sure what's going to happen.
I could do with that. I'm okay.
That's pretty much exactly what we were. Yeah.
Oh well, but you guys went all the way to the plus sign. I see.
Did.
It's a negotiation tactic.
We want the minus and the plus, but we'll settle for the 1 to the 0.
I thought it was a negotiation tactic. You know, hey, we want 20 hotkeys. Can you do it? I'm like, no, maybe I could do 10. Okay, done.
Yeah. So I guess Jason, do you wanna finish us off?
Yeah. Most importantly, what is your favorite beer? No pressure, obviously.
Oh, jeez. This is okay. You guys did not disclose this question.
Yeah, we did it on purpose.
Just on the spot. So I'm not much of a. I don't know if I should say this in the show, but I'm not much of a beer drinker in general.
And we can just cut the transmission right there.
Hold on now.
We don't have to finish the interview. It's okay.
Well, this might be interesting though. You guys might want to hear this. So this is just like the game that's going to take a twist. I'm not much of a beer drinker, but I do have a favorite beer, and it is very obscure. At least in the Americas, it is. In the colonies, it is. It's called the Berliner Weisse. Have you ever heard of that?
Berliner Weisse? I haven't. 1 minute, let me. All that's coming up on Google is a Berlin Visa.
Not quite. Don't drink those.
I've never. Please tell us all about this magical new beer.
Have you heard of Alambic from Belgium?
Yes.
It's a lot like Alambic. So with Alambic, they brew the beer and they add a bacteria into it. I think you may be able to make yogurt out of this bacteria too. It's a bacillo something or other. I don't know. Can anybody pronounce the species names of bacteria unless you're a biologist?
I don't think
I don't know. Yeah, right. It's they add a bacteria to the brewing process, and it gives the beer a really sour taste. Like good sour, like lemonade sour, not like milk sour. Don't drink it. Not like that. It's really, I like it just by itself, but you traditionally don't drink it by itself. The Belgians add fruit to it also, and that's a lambic. So you get like a raspberry lambic is really good. It's one of my favorites. They add other fruits to it too. I think raspberry is probably the most common.
Apple and peach.
The Germans, they brew it. A what?
Apple and peach as well.
Yeah, there's all good. They do cherry. They'll add all kinds of fruits to it. Sure. The Germans they don't add the fruit to the brewing process. They brew it with the bacteria in there. You get this kind of a dry, sour beer. It's really good. There's no hops in it, so you don't get that. That's the thing. That's one of the things that I don't like about beer. I don't like too much hops. If it doesn't have a lot of hops, I'll drink it. I don't like that hoppy taste. Some people like that. I don't. There's no hops in this at all. So the Germans, you get this dry, sour beer, and then they add raspberry syrup to it afterwards. And that's a Berliner Weisse.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Absolutely fantastic. Right, I think...
it is the greatest thing in the world.
I think we'll end it there.
As far as...
Thanks for watching, guys. We've been Jason and Shane from Beer and Games, and Jason from Arcanity Inc. Like us, follow, subscribe, and when this game comes out, buy it because it's fantastic.